Hello and welcome to another episode of ETCFO Leadership Dialogues. Today I have with me a very special guest who has close to 3 decades of experience in finance, and he's currently steering India's biggest private healthcare network. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Krishnan Akhileswaran, Group CFO, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise. Thank you for joining the dialogue, Krishnan.
Good evening. Hi. Thank you so much, Shivam, and thank you for having me with ETCFO today.
Let me start by asking you about your journey a little bit. How did you get into finance? Was it a choice or it happened by accident?
Finance, I would think it was a conscious choice because, in some way or form, I think I've always been drawn, to the intersection of numbers and decision making. Because even when I did my graduation in Mumbai, I studied out in Poda College in Mumbai. And, Mumbai, as you know, it's a city where, in some way or form, it's a commercial capital of the country and rightly so as well. And where I think I will also give credit to Mumbai where I grew up, which nurtured my financial and business acumen even during college days. And it was a natural perspective for me to move into, cost and management accounting and then an MBA in finance from the Bombay University. And somewhere, the choice was really about, finance being an enabler for all businesses. And that's what made me, get into finance clearly.
Right. And what are you currently driving for, Apollo Hospitals at this time? And before you get into that, take me to the early years of your, working age, 1997, the year I was born, you started your career. So how was that like? And did you at that time had an aspiration to become a CFO one day?
I never thought I would become a CFO, and that's a very honest answer. But I would have to admit that I have been a very hardworking person right from start. I have been a learner. I have been really trying to embrace innovation all my life. I have been trying to really learn business beyond finance all my time. Wherever, I've been a avid reader of books. I think, books have really taught me a lot in terms of experiences, gaining experiences from other people's experience, etc. All of that has really helped me nurture where I am today. In my early days, yes, always born and brought up in Bombay. That's what I was at. And I studied in Bombay all through. So, my formative years were in Mahindra and Mahindra. It's a fabulous organization where, all my basics on finance were all set, and then moved on. I worked in ICICI One Source, which then became First Source, and then joined Apollo 15 years back. So I think, all the time, I think before Apollo, it's all been Mumbai, and which is why I gave credit to Mumbai for what I am, because the ecosystem of Mumbai is very entrepreneurial, and that's what led me to learning business as well as learning finance, and that's something that I've embraced all the time. My focus in Apollo, to your also other point, is twofold. One, as the CFO or the group CFO, on one end, it's about shaping strategy, driving growth, and optimizing capital allocation. Capital allocation optimization is a very important role that all CFOs play, and it's a very important thing that we have to always think about. On the other hand, the other perspective on finance is about building a future ready finance function, right? On the ground, one that is tech enabled, analytically sharp, and deeply integrated with business operations. So there are two levers that I play, and there are two roles, if you ask me, and two caps that I wear. And that's what I drive all the day in and day out at Apollo today, working very closely with the executive leadership team, which is Ms. Sunita Reddy, to whom I directly report to, who's the managing director, and of course, all the other sisters of hers and the respected chairman.
Before I get to my another question, I want to ask this. Since you mentioned about reading and you've been reading all your life, what are those two, three big books that have shaped your financial acumen, or as an individual or as a leader, or that have helped you in your life?
So I have read multiple books. I think the books that I've really liked of late has been books on pricing and how pricing is a very important lever in financing. And not many people understand the power of pricing. So there are very good books around pricing which I have read. Very recently, I read a very Harvard Business Review book on data and data strategy. I think that's a very strong book around by Harvard Business Review, which is all about data and data strategy. And it really talks about how we can use data today as a defense as well as data for offense. So some of us will have to start now thinking, because data clearly in the digital world, what's going to keep us ahead, apart from some of the other aspects, is going to be how your data is organized, how your tech is going to be enabling the data and data insights, and how decision making is being made basis that. So books around that has this book has been very good recently that I've gone through. I so there are multiple books. There are not one or two that I would say. Many
Sure.
books. I have read a lot about Warren Buffett and how what Warren Buffett has been. The letters to the shareholders that Warren Buffett writes has always been significantly influential in how I keep thinking. So I think there has been many books. I wouldn't name it as one or two.
Right. Coming back to what you do, uh, how are you managing the finances of such a large group that has not just hospitals, but other adjacent arms also, pharmacy, Apollo 24/7, which is the digital arm? And how are hospital finances different from any other business?
Okay. Healthcare financing, I can tell you, is quite unique and complex. It is unique and complex, hospitals in particular, because if you look at hospitals as a business, not only is it capital intensive, it is also resource intensive. When I say capital and resource today, if you look at a tertiary care hospital like Apollo, where we really focus on some of the high-end specialties like what we call the Congo specialties, which is cardiac, oncology, neurosciences, gastro, and orthopedics, which comprise 65% of what we do, high-end surgeries, robotics, all of these, it's highly capital intensive. It takes us, if you look at a place like any of the metros, in fact, not Mumbai, Mumbai is very expensive. I'm saying leaving Mumbai, if you look at many of the other metros, to put up a 500-bedded hospital costs us almost around 1,000 crores today. So it's a significantly capital intensive business. The other perspective is, you are really touching lives day in and day out. So the ethical care really and the clinical outcomes is what Apollo has always been focusing on, and that comes first. So all financial decisions, are deeply aligned with the clinical priorities. Because what happens is, it's not as though you can just decide that no, it doesn't make economic sense and I wouldn't buy it, or I wouldn't procure that particular equipment because it is not going to give me the returns. Returns only follow. It's not the basis on which some of your decisions are made. So clearly, your chairman used to say, find purpose. And I see we keep finding purpose, keeping the customer at the center or the patient as the center, and then the means have followed. In some way or form, being a pioneer in the field, we have taken very bold steps. Yes, some of them at that point in time, we have been very scared about as well, I should admit. But I think when you do the right things and you do the customer in the center and the patient in the center, it has always worked. It has always resulted in good financial outcomes as well. So I guess balancing the ethical care and the clinical superiority and the financial discipline is what is a bit difficult in hospitals, and that's something that keeps me running all the time. And I keep challenging our finance controllers also to keep having that right balance.
Mm. And how do you manage such a large organization's finances? What is the modus operandi there? What are the processes when you have such a large group which is spread around different adjacencies?
There is a level of decentralization which is required, because hospitals operations is decentralized, because every hospital requires to function independently. But at the same time, we have centralized the governance is completely centralized out of Chennai. We have certain key functions like IT, which is centralized, the central purchase, which is a purchase team which is centralized, and that is the negotiation, and all the purchasing happens centrally, so that there is standardization of rates across hospitals. Technology, as I said already, finance is all centralized here. Whereas the processes, while it's standardized at the center and there is a quality assessment at the center, the implementation on the ground happens at the units. So there is a lot of execution and implementation which happens at the units, but there is a lot of control that an organization or the corporate really provides to some of the units, and that's the way that we have been driving, so that there is flexibility and speed. Because the point is, we can't lose the control. At the same time, we need to give flexibility and speed to the units. It's a challenging, it's not easy. I can only tell you that I can never say we are perfect. We have to keep learning every day, and I think every new year we come with certain other innovations and we keep implementing some of that for betterment.
While we are at risks, how are you kind of managing risk, whether it is related to external shocks like geopolitics, or internal risks related to governance and compliance? And are there any tech tools that are helping you?
No, there are a lot of tech tools today. I think, it's about deciding which tech tool you need. As I said, today there is more tech than ever. I get mails after mail every day today from companies who want to, implement tech. But the most important thing is the culture of accountability and governance. See, as a company, risk is a, we speak about risks a lot, but then unless there is a culture of accountability and governance which is built into the organization, it's very difficult to implement it. So, for us, what we have done is we really have institutionalized an enterprise wide risk management framework. We have done that. There is a full team who's looking at ensuring that there is a governance around enterprise wide risk management, such that it is split under the oversight of the leadership as well as the board at Apollo. And it covers the various risks: operational, financial, clinical, strategic, cyber security, data. All of these risks are covered under that, and I think we have very detailed discussions on how do we mitigate some of those risks proactively. And the more important thing, as I said, is unless the organization is equipped to do that, and unless there are not people who are doing this on the ground day in and day out, it can just be a theoretical exercise. I think we keep pushing this through this framework. I would never say that we have been there 100% of the time, but some of the key risks like clinical risks, data risks, I think these are very pivotal to how we think. And we have really been ahead of the curve in implementing certain checks and balances as well as accountability across the organization to ensure that we are ahead of the curve in identifying and mitigating them. It's again something that we'll have to keep doing day in and day out. We have automated parts of our compliance and audit workflows. We have improved the transparency and speed of resolution as well, but it's still a long way to go. We'll have to keep doing that.
Right. Uh, Automation and has been a CFO's kind of help for a while now. But the Gen AIs of the world, the agentic AIs of the world are making waves. So, how are you seeing these emerging technologies, uh, and where are you in your journey in employing these? In context of automation AI, Gen AI, agentic AI, and no, I don't know what can come tomorrow also. So, uh, and are there any pilots that you are running currently?
No, no, good point. I think we are embracing AI in certain areas. I wouldn't say that we have really gone the AI way fully, because one thing is that we have been on a very structured finance transformation journey. We have been doing that. There has been a lot of focus on centralization at one level, because the centralization is a very important, as I said, because as a hospitals company, we are significantly decentralized. We have 45 large hospitals, 70 hospitals in total. There are a lot of decentralization of operational and financial tasks as well. One aspect is to first centralize a lot of things, which is along with automation. So at this point in time, we are working on the centralization and automation along with analytics, because analytics is also a very important area which we have been able to really build strongly. The agility is something that we are trying to bring through a finance hub. The finance hub is like a shared services center based out of Chennai, where we are now trying to see how the accounts receivable, accounts payable, the accounting, all of that is actually centralized over the next 1 year. And there is significant push towards that. When it comes to AI, we have started implementing AI. Of course, I have to come back and tell you that, from a clinical AI perspective, we have done a lot. We have a separate group working on clinical AI at Apollo, which is all about, we have been working with Microsoft, we have been working with Google. This is to ensure that patient outcomes and patient care is enabled through AI. So that the diagnosis is ahead. Some of that is something that we are doing at scale, and we are bringing that, and in fact even trying to take it outside of India. When it comes to finance, I think AI, we have started doing AI in certain areas like revenue. We are doing that in insurance bill submissions, cost analytics, etc. Very formative. So AI you will probably hear more of that over the next 12 to 18 months. But definitely, there's no doubt that AI is a significant enabler. It is going to be out there helping all of us, but I don't think it's going to be taking away jobs as much as we are all worried about.
Right. From AI, let's move to another hot topic that has been there for quite some time now. The next generation talent that is coming up, and especially the Gen Z generation. How are you seeing them stepping into finance? What are the pros and cons that you are seeing in the next generation talent, whether it is the millennials that you have seen before and the Gen Z now?
Okay, again, a good question, a tricky one. But so to be honest, I think there are two sides of the coin that I see in the Gen Z, because they're very young. They bring a lot of energy to the team. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of digital fluency that they bring to the teams, and there is a mindset that they would like to work on something which is a purpose-led mindset. Most of them, earlier, when my boss used to say do this job, I used to just do it and ask him how I should do it. And I would do it in a way that it was relevant for him. That's about it. Today the Gen Z asks me as to why that job needs to be done. So clearly, from the how, there is a change to the why. So we have to change the way we think. So I do encourage my managers to say clearly that you have to work with your Gen Zs and ensure that they understand and embrace some of this better. Clearly at one side, while they are energetic, as I said, the other side, they do lack a bit of patience, and they are a bit more entitled than all of us are. And there is a level of entitlement that means, a manager who's probably in his early 40s will have to spend more time in managing and molding this young generation, because they are coming from a very different environment where they have studied and grown, and they have not seen adversities as much as people like us have probably seen. Not as much as our fathers and our grandfathers have, but we have at least witnessed our fathers and grandfathers having certain adversities, and we have whereas I think the Gen Zs have come from a different frame of mind. So I think there's a good mix of what they bring to the table, but we need to guide them properly. That's how I would say. When we hire people, what I look for more importantly is whether one, is he an adaptable person? Second, can he collaborate with teams? Very, very important. If you're not a collaborative person, if you're a close person, I think it's very difficult today to, win at work environments alone. You need to work as a team. And that's something that I've been really encouraging across the finance teams even today. And, because you need to have a level of curiosity so that, you have insights, collaboration, all of those. So that's something that we keep propagating. And that's something that I look for when I hire Gen Z talent.
To my another question and moving to the business aspect now for Apollo Hospitals, uh, what are your current business investments looking like, and where are you investing for the next leg of growth? We are seeing, companies investing in R&D, data centers, digitalization, and various aspects. renewables and stuff like that. So, what are your investments looking like at this point in time?
Two questions. So there are one is investing for growth and expansion is one level.
Mhm.
Second is investing for capabilities, as you're asking. If you look at investing for growth today, and where are we looking at? We really are growing our core business of hospitals. We are the leaders in India today, as you know. We are the largest hospital chain. We are the largest pharmacy chain in the country. For us to remain dominant in each of the metros, our focus is to see the six metros that we are, right? Three in south, and then which is your Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, and the three in north and west, which is your NCR region, Mumbai, and east. These six metros we see, and we would like to have a preeminent position of dominance in each of these six metros, and would like to be leaders. Which means, we are investing in growth for of hospitals in Mumbai region, in NCR, in Bangalore, etc. Because we are already well covered in a place like Hyderabad or Chennai, or even for that matter in Calcutta, we have a very strong presence. We are at one level trying to see how we can grow the business and expand this, and really trying to add over 3,000 beds over the next 4 5 years. At one level we are doing that. The second level, building on capability, is what you are asking about, which is all about digital. Digital has been something which has been very core at Apollo. We have been amongst the earliest to embrace technology. Even if you look back at 1983, when chairman started the hospital, he always believed in getting some of the best technologies at Apollo. So if you look at it, the first MRI in the country came from Apollo. Today we can't imagine this country's first MRI really came from Apollo. The first Novalis for cancer treatment came from Apollo. The only proton therapy cancer center in the country today comes from Apollo. So I guess, we have always been a torchbearer in terms of embracing technology ahead of the curve. That means even in digital, we have done the same thing. Apollo 247, as you know, which is our patient facing consumer app, where you can transact for medicines, you can transact for online consults, insurance products, take appointments at the group level. All of that is something which is significantly built, and we are trying to scale that. You will see that over time we will cover a lot more services in Apollo 247, including condition management, etc. So, that is the second level of, I'm saying, capability building that we are working on, which is around all the capabilities around digital, around patient experience, etc. So that, we are always going to be ahead of the curve. Of course, the other thing is the tier two and tier three expansions. We are we also have a sizable presence in tier two and tier three cities in the country, especially the state capitals. And we are really trying to build scalable asset light models to expand access to high quality care across these tier 2 and tier 3 locations. That's something that we are also focusing on. So these are the two, three themes. Of course, the last most important thing, which is very close to chairman and what Apollo has always been doing, is the preventive and personalized healthcare. We really believe in it, that the preventive healthcare and personalized healthcare is something that go hand in hand. Be it from diagnostics or genomics or wellness, we believe that the future really lies around some of these. And while curative care goes at one level, preventive care, health checks, ensure that you do the right interventions through the health checks, is something that we are also driving, day in and day out. So multiple different things. There has been significant investments on technology. We continue to work with, flag bearers in this field, talent, data, etc.
Right. And when you say asset light models, do you mean that you'll be partnering more with the existing hospitals, acquiring them rather than going and building your own hospitals?
No, it may not necessarily mean that. It means when we are saying asset light, we kind of say, okay, someone else is putting up the infrastructure and we become an operator on top of it. So, many places we are really owning the land and building, because that's what we have been doing in the past. But certain places we are saying, okay, can we, put it in an asset light model? That's what we are looking at.
Right. And if I had to ask you briefly, what would be your top priorities for the next 3, 4 years for the Apollo Group that investors should watch out for?
I think in line with whatever I said earlier, one is obviously the accelerated expansion plans that we have. Second, most important is profitable growth. We don't want our margins to get compressed even at this point in time, because clearly when you look at the markets that we are growing in markets which are where we already have very strong presence in. We don't think our margins should get compressed. So we really want our margins to continue while our growth is hopefully gets to the mid to high teen levels. That's what we are focusing on the growth side. And the digital capabilities that we are also building simultaneously is something that we are extremely focused on. Capital efficiency is going to be at the core of whatever we are saying, because whenever we are looking at any opportunity, we are looking at it from the lens of whether it's the right investment that we should be doing in the right side of right place. Which is why certain opportunities we may say no to. There could be certain M&A opportunities. We have said no to many M&A opportunities. See, when you focus on capital allocation and capital efficiency, this is again a very important perspective. Say you need to be able to say no more number of times than say yes. you know if we are going to be able to saying more yeses than nos, let me tell you, we have a problem. If you are able to say more nos than yes, I think you're doing the right perspective on capital allocation and efficiency. And I think we at Apollo, thankfully with the support of the leadership and the board, have embraced that well. And so hence, I wouldn't say that we are just chasing growth for growth's sake, because especially in today's time in India, there are so many opportunities, so many growth, so many private equity guys looking at growing this sector. You can get enamored by companies, because and the valuations could be super rich. But some of them, we look at it from the lens of capital allocation and ROI, and say, what, it's fine, we will let go of this opportunity today. There is always going to be a another day. Yeah,
Mm.
because we are here for good.
Right. And the group has, announced the demerger of Apollo's digital health and pharmacy business, which has been under losses historically. Do you see the demerger changing the bottom line of both the arms, and what other steps are you taking to ensure a strong bottom line?
I think very good question. I think I don't think the markets or even the investors have really appreciated the power of what we have built on the digital health and pharmacy. Clearly, we are the numero on the pharmacy business with over 6,500 stores. Clearly now with the distribution business also, which is getting folded in, which is the largest again in India, supplying to over 80,000 pharmacy stores. We will become a large company. Why are we separating these two businesses? There is a clear rationale for the same. If you look at a hospitals business, it is a asset heavy, capex heavy business. If you look at pharmacy, it is capex light or an asset light business. The margins on the hospitals business, EBITDA margins of 24-25%. If you look at the EBITDA margins of the pharmacy or the digital health, it's more around the 7-8% EBITDA margins. If you look at the ROIs of the hospitals business, yes, you have to be very patient for the ROI. It comes after 7-8 years. It will go up to the 20% or maybe cross the 20%. Whereas, the asset turns on the pharmacy business are so high that, you can achieve an ROC of 30-35% or even higher. Clearly pharmacy players across the world, the large pharmacy players have been duopolies at best. It's not a, it's not a very easy market for anyone to get in. It's not very easy for private equities to throw money and just build a pharmacy business. It has to be done the very hard way. So I think it's a different business. People have not appreciated this business as much as part of the overall Apollo group, at least from a valuation perspective. Which is why, from an investor standpoint, because what we are doing as a demerger is from an investor standpoint, it made a lot of sense for us to demerge both of this. And for every 100 shares that an investor today has in Apollo, he will get 195 shares of the pharmacy or the Apollo HealthCo, which is digital health and pharmacy business, when it's demerged. The process is already underway. I think we will hope that this new company lists around the Jan-Feb-March 2027 time frame. And we are quite excited about that, because it will be a 25,000 crore revenue company by then, run rating at around 25,000 crores, including the merged distribution business. And it should be having a 6 to 7% EBITDA margin, and which is going to be continuing its growth of high teens to 20s is what we are focusing on. So I think both different businesses. So I think that will also help us ensure that it is unlocked capital. Clearly, it brings clarity from an investor perspective on capital allocation, right? Again, come back to capital, because you know that the capital generated by the hospitals business is now all going to be used in hospitals growth or healthcare growth. All the capital generated by the pharmacy business will all be deployed under that company. So clearly, there is a clear understanding from an investor perspective, and we were quite hopeful that it should help unlock significant value to our investors.
Mhm. When you say listing on the bourses, you mean the pharmacy business, right?
That is correct.
Those.
So you have an Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited, which is today the only listed company. You
Mhm.
would, by Jan, Feb, March 27, which is 18 months from now, you should have both the companies listed automatically post the demerger process and the allocation of the allotment of the shares. As I said,
Mhm.
post, of course, NCLT and shareholder approvals.
Got it. And the coming to the online business, is it still relevant post COVID? Because a lot of the digital health platforms who give prescriptions or digital health checkups, the industry, while it spurred during COVID, and you saw so many startups. Of late, you don't hear about it so much. So, how you've tilted that Apollo 24/7 business, and what's the future?
Though we always believed in the Apollo 247 business, and that's because for us we are looking at it from an holistic perspective of providing healthcare access to consumers, right? Because we are a comprehensive healthcare company. Please understand and appreciate that we are just not a platform. We provide the underlying service as well, because we provide the underlying service of the teleconsults, we provide the underlying service of the pharmacy delivery, we provide the underlying service of the hospitals, we provide the underlying services of digital condition management, etc. as well. So for us, it is not just a marketplace or a platform like many of the others have done. Yes, of course, post during COVID, the online consultations had significantly surged, but now they have stabilized, but they continue to be doing well, and we are still continuing to see a lot of online consults happening across our specialties. It's going to become more and more relevant with time on chronic disease management. You will see that we will have offerings around chronic disease management, around obesity, around diabetes and cholesterols and heart health, etc., mental health. So you will see some of these emerge with time. Virtual access is definitely becoming a mainstream channel. It's taking time, some time to monetize this. I would have to accept that it's not growing at the same pace as what we would have wanted it to grow. But then we are doing it in a sustainable and profitable manner. And from just being a pure consultation led model, which is not something that we ever envisage, it's a 360-degree digital health platform. That's the difference that we bring. And it is all about creating a continuum of care for our patients. And we know that we have a plan for it, and you will see that with time there will be good subscription models and continuum of care models that we will be bringing out there, which will make it more meaningful from the investor's standpoint as well.
Moving on to my next question, which is around the mergers and acquisitions. One demerger that is you are going through, and what about expansion? Are there any segments, geographies that are you currently exploring? Because you are there in the pharmacy business, and you spoke about the duopoly aspect, and now you're also in the hospital business, where you are entering into different territories. You'll be more present in the north, you said. So what is the future there? Are there any segments, geographies you are exploring for M&A?
So we continuously keep looking at M&A opportunities, Shivam. I don't think we look at bolt-on acquisition opportunities across. We do keep looking at that. Especially in both the metros as well as the tier two cities. We try to see whether there are opportunities on the hospital side which we can do a bolt-on acquisition. That's always been something that we have done. we have done in the past, Lucknow, Indore, Guwahati, many acquisitions that we have done. That's something that we will continue to look at. On the health tech side, again, while we have very strong AI and ML capabilities within the company, we continue to keep looking at seeing if there are opportunities which can help enhance clinical decision making, operational efficiencies, etc. That's something that we keep looking at. And preventive care is also an area that we have been continuously looking at along with diagnostics. So because diagnostics and the outreach model through both digital and a clinic system is something that we are working on as well. So we will continue to be looking at opportunities, but the important perspective for us is whether it makes sense from an ROI perspective, whether it's something that we can really scale up and take it to make it sustainable. Unless that threshold IRR of 17-18% with time is not met, we wouldn't look at it as just to scale up.
Right, right. And since it is capex heavy business, are there any capex targets for upcoming years, and any fundraise initiative that you may undertake in the near term, in the near to medium term?
So capex, yes, if you look at it in the coming 12 months, we will be adding at least around 1,500 beds. So, and then, over the next 3 years, as I said, another 2,000 beds. So almost around 3,500 plus crores of capex is something that we are going to be still required to be incurring over the next 4-5 years. But again, none of this is going to be requiring us to raise any funds. Clearly, it's all internal accruals. There is a lot of headroom for debt. Our debt EBITDA is, we don't have, as of now, the net debt is a zero position on healthcare services. So I don't think there's going to be any immediate requirement of fundraising. We maintain a very disciplined capital structure, and we continue to evaluate options to optimize our funding mix. That's always going to be something that we will keep looking at it. But significantly, this round of growth is going to be only through internal accruals.
Right. Another question is very important, since you are running a hospital. The DP rules have been in the conversation for a while now, and hospitals specifically have been involved in the whether to say in the regulations, how it is going to be, and the talks have been happening. So it may be notified very soon. How prepared are you for that compliance?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have been working very closely with the government on that. So clearly, our teams are completely aware of what's coming out of the DPDP. So clearly, from our perspective, we have taken 3 steps, right? One, what we have done is we have upgraded our data infrastructure in line with global best practices already, right? That's something that we have done. We are embraced the data infrastructure. There is a significant cloud offering that we are working with Microsoft around, so we have a very secure environment at one level. Second, we have established a dedicated data governance team. And there is a data security officer that we are closely also going to be appointing, and clearly with DPOs across business units. Third, we have conducted impact assessments and policy realignments as required in anticipation of DPDP also. So I would like to believe that we are definitely ahead of the curve in getting prepared for the DPDP. We are confident of meeting the compliance requirements here. Also working very with the industry forums, the regulators, etc., to see how it can be strengthened with time. So it is going to be, but clearly we know that it is an important area and focusing on it.
Moving from the business questions, I want to throw some rapid fire questions at you, which will be a blend of business as well as personal. So, what is that one financial metric that you track daily?
Daily, it will be a revenue, but if you look at it over a period of time, the financial metric that I really believe in is ROI, return on
Right.
investment.
Capex or cost optimization? What's your current priority?
Both, without a doubt, because unfortunately, you need to focus on a day in and day out on cost, but capex is what is going to be looking at, you have to put in place today for growth of the future.
How soon do you expect Apollo 24/7 to break even?
Next 2 quarters.
Which segments will drive the next leg of growth? Hospitals, pharmacies, or diagnostics?
All the three. But if you look at it from the growth perspective, the highest growth could be pharmacy and diagnostics, followed by hospitals, because hospitals is more about putting up the infrastructure and it takes some time before you see it. So, hospitals could be more mid to high teens, whereas if you look at diagnostics and pharmacy, it could be 20% growth.
Mhm. Tea or coffee?
T,
Beaches or mountains?
mountains.
One regulatory change that could unlock massive value for healthcare providers.
I think insurance penetration in the country to be increased 10x from where we are today.
One leadership principle you live by as a CFO in a people centric industry.
Integrity is the most important, and I think collaboration with the teams is the second most important thing that I keep working on.
What is the biggest lesson you have learned from a financial risk gone wrong?
As I said, don't get blurred with growth, because sometimes growth can result in wrong capital allocation decisions, and when you are on the speed of continuing to work on capital allocations at a high level of momentum, it can result in wrong decisions.
What is that one thing that you have changed in your leadership style recently?
More delegation of work with my teams and really making them more accountable, and also appreciating them for what they bring to the table day in and day out.
Lastly, what is your morning routine? Do you see spreadsheets first or coffee first?
Very difficult answer. I think I would leave that to my wife, but I think
Mhm.
honestly, I think I see coffee, hopefully, and then I do see spreadsheets.
Right. Lastly, I want you to give some advice for the young professional who are in their 20s or 30s, want to be, you know, get ahead in finance. What are the key things that you would tell them and you would tell yourself when you were starting your career in 1997, or let's say.
I think today, I think is very different from when I started my career and life. I think first thing I would like the people of today to embrace tech and data and AI significantly, because a lot of them need to know how to use the tech more efficiently, so that the data and insights are provided in a proper manner at one level. Very important. Second, understand business, and really be passionate about really understanding that business inside and inside out, because that is the understanding of the business is important for any finance function. If you don't understand the business and what it is all about, you can't just apply the principles of finance the same way. And most important third thing is, we have to work as strategic partners to the business. And as much as accounting and controls are important, keep reading a lot, keep learning a lot, and be ahead of the curve. Today we are blessed with the chat gpts and other tools also, and I think you ask it a reasonably good question and you get a reasonably good answer. So I guess some of this in the fingertips can be used well by some of the Gen Zs of today.
Right. Careful mention of the right input there, then only you get the right output from the now newer technologies, which are struggling on reliability at this point a lot. So, thank you so much, Mr. Krishnan Akhileswaran, for joining us here. It was pleasure hosting you, and all the very best for the things that you are planning for Apollo Hospitals.
Thank you so much, Shivam, and it was a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you.